Hello and welcome to this Google Sheets for SEO tutorial. This is the 2024 edition where we're going to be using plenty of ChatGPT. But before we get started, let me introduce myself. My name is Mark Möller and I run an SEO agency called Ecom Experts. If you need links, head over to markmöller.io and check out our backlink packages. On average, we're about 30% cheaper. So let's dive right into the tutorial here, where I've got some really important formulas. If you're starting out with SEO, you're probably not familiar how to solve quite a lot of these issues. So each one of these formulas is geared towards a specific problem that you most likely will encounter. First, let's check out this situation where we have a domain name here in cell A2, and there's lots of other stuff included in the domain name, and we're only interested to extract the domain name with a formula. Well, let's first of all ask ChatGPT what to do for that situation. So we can ask ChatGPT, I have this data in cell A2. Always tell it directly where your data is, otherwise you later need to change your formula. Help me return only the domain name, and here we're pasting in the information that's in the cell. Okay, so what happened here is truly amazing. We've tried first with this simple prompt and we were not very clear with what we wanted. And so ChatGPT didn't actually give us the correct answer. However, once we are clear and we tell ChatGPT, hey, you're an expert with 20 years experience of writing custom formulas. And here's my problem. And then we told ChatGPT, your task is to think step by step, take a deep breath and help me write a working formula. As soon as we word it this way, we actually got a really simple and working formula that looks like this. So left A2, and then we're going to find, and what we're going to be looking for is the empty spaces. And those are then going to be removed. The empty spaces is what's different here. So that's a really cool example of how you, with a good prompt, you can really quickly get a formula that works for you inside of Google Sheets. And I want to teach you here more how to work quickly with Google Sheets and how to solve your own problems rather than tell you to memorize this formula or that formula, if that makes sense. So, but generally, these are the kind of problems that you can solve in Google Sheets when you need to convert data into a different format. In this example, we want to extract here the test from this cell. And again, this is something that you could simply ask ChatGPT on how to do it. I won't go through these formulas step by step, but my absolute favorite formula would have to be the index match formula. And for that one I think it's worth understanding how it is set up, because you can use it so many times once you know how it works. In so many situations. So what this does, it will return data. Let's say you have data here. It could be in a different tab. So we're looking here at the domain names. You have a bunch of domain names and then a number of backlinks for these domains, and you want to return that data in a different area. So it could be a different tab. It could even be a different sheet altogether. And this is where the index match comes in handy. So what we're doing here, let me zoom a bit further. What we're doing here is the first thing that we're looking for is always what we want to output. So in this case, we already have the domain names. We want to find the number of backlinks that this domain has. So this is always the first part of the formula. And in this case, the number of backlinks are in D. So that's why we're putting basically in the formula to say search in D to D. That's always the first part. Then once we have that, then we say, okay, what are we going to search for? This is our domain david.com in cell A8. And then where's the range that we want to search inside of? So where are the other domains located? And that happens to be here in column C. So to go over it once more, what's the data we want to output? In this case, backlinks in column D. What's the thing that we're searching for? We're searching for the domain name specifically. And then where is that location that we are searching in, being the domain names in this case. Cool, so this is pretty straightforward. I would say just put this somewhere on your notepad and you can quickly copy and paste this formula and reuse it again. And I will also give you a copy of this formula sheet if you sign up to my newsletter. I will post that below in the video description. Cool, so now we've learned on how to manipulate data, extract data from certain cells. You've got a really good prompt that will get ChatGPT to think in a much more logical way. Another really good one is to filter data. So let's say you wanted to only get the domains back here in this test sheet if they have 200 backlinks or more. Let's say you have thousands of domains in there and you only want to get a specific set of those back. I will even give you an example of how you can use it. We've recently used that for broken backlink building, where our client had a bunch of broken backlinks. And there were 14,000 links pointing to their website, but a lot of them were spam. So we needed to filter only the backlinks that are on the topics that my client talks about, which is technology. In this example, we can use soccer. So only if there are soccer words in the anchor text or in the title, then we want to return the domain. So let's do this one live together and ask ChatGPT. We have here data of the domain names, and then we have the backlinks, number of backlinks that each domain has. And let's say this is the page title of the donor page, of the page that is linking to us. And we tell ChatGPT this is our data, and we only want to filter for backlinks that have the page title of test. Let's say this is the backlink that refers to our company name. So we're saying here, let's write a filter function that can help me filter the backlinks which contain the page title test, and then we're pasting our data in. So this is an important step that you need to do to tell ChatGPT what your data structure looks like, but then you also need to say which cells the data is contained in. So my data starts from cell A8 to A16 to C16, and with that information ChatGPT should be able to write a good formula. And because we've already prompted in the beginning to say, hey ChatGPT, you're Google Sheets expert, you should think step by step, that should still be functional and working. So that's good. So we can test this now and come back here to our sheet. And we have been able to output this URL Sandra, which indeed had the word test. We're still missing one. We also wanted to have this one output. So we need to double check and go back to ChatGPT. Okay, I actually saw immediately what the problem is. ChatGPT, because we told it our data starts from A8, which would include the header. So ChatGPT thought our real kind of data of domain started in A8 or in A9, but we just need to change the formula to move it one cell further up. And now that we're searching in the correct range, we're also checking here in this formula in the correct range, now we will have all of that output correctly. So here's our domain, and here is the number of backlinks, and then here's what we're filtering for the page title. It could be anchor text as well if you wanted to do that. Title of page. Cool. I would show you one variation of this formula, which I like to use. It makes it a bit quicker to edit, is where you set this to equal, and then you set that to a specific cell. So you say equals, in this case we can write B1, because in B1 it also says test. So if we change this to ABC, it will not return anything, unless in our data we change something to ABC as well. I hope that makes sense here. So this allows you, by rather than hard coding it, what we're looking for, now allows you to look for a specific thing. You can then layer it further. You could ask ChatGPT, hey, I want the domains that contain ABC in the title and that also have more than 200 backlinks. That's also possible. Let's create that. Actually, I won't go through that. You could just ask ChatGPT to make that modification yourself. I'm pretty confident that that's going to work out. Just a good thing to be aware of, that you can filter through multiple variables as well. Now, lastly, let's talk about some basic things And then I will go into something more advanced. So if you are starting out with Google Sheets, just knowing a couple of shortcuts and things to work quicker. For example, to insert links, Control plus K on your keyboard if you're on Windows. That's really helpful to just hit that, and then you can put, let's put it here. You can put a link in and link things up. Then if you're working with big sets of data, it's helpful to know shortcuts on how to navigate around bigger sheets. So if you click Control plus Shift plus down arrow, that's a good one to get around and get to the bottom of the sheet. So here, because there was no other data, the Google Sheets puts us right to the bottom of the sheet. If we do put some other data here, and we now go Control Shift up arrow, we get to the top. Control Shift down brings us to where that data is immediately. And then another Control Shift down gets us to the end of the sheet. Let's say you need to copy something quickly. Let's say we want to fill everything here with test. We select this, then hit Control Shift down, and then we just Control V without clicking anything in between, and we've now filled all of this data up with test. And the same would work with the formula. If you have a formula here equals this plus 1, let's say, we make this a number, then you can drag this formula up and you can quickly fill things with formulas just by finding this little anchor point and then dragging it around. Cool. If you see, by the way, if you see these arrows coming up, you could see here right now that I got these reference arrows. If you don't want your formula to create arrows, you can simply wrap that in if arrow. And then if you drag that again, one second. Yeah, we've basically filled that already. Okay, so you can see here now there's no error that appears, even though that there should be an error. It will just suppress those errors. So just by wrapping that, any formula inside of if error will suppress those errors. Okay, let's talk about troubleshooting. Sometimes if your formulas are not working, let's say we're taking the sum of something here. If your formulas are not working, it can be because it's formatted into text. So if we see now I've formatted these numbers into text, and suddenly my sum here becomes 0 because the format of these numbers here is not an actual number format, because Google Sheets now treats them as text. So you need to come here and change that to number. The quick shortcut to change things to numbers is Control Shift and exclamation mark or 1 on your keyboard. So if I change this into dollar, which is Control Shift and the dollar sign, and then I hit Control Shift and the exclamation mark or 1, now we've changed that into a number and our formula is working again. If you want less decimals, you simply hit this icon here. And if you want more decimals, you hit this icon there. So these are a couple of tips if you're a beginner, or maybe you're an SEO agency owner, you want to give this video to your new starter. That should get them started to work a bit quicker inside of Google Sheets and enjoy the experience. So inside of this Google Sheet that you can get if you sign up to my newsletter, I also have a bunch of hotkeys that you can use inside of Google Sheets directly linked up here, and then a bunch of regex formulas which can help you solve more difficult situations. There's also an import XML thing that we can do, which basically grabs the page title of specific URLs. So we're taking the URL here, apple.com, iPhone 12, and we're saying import XML and give me the page title of that URL. You can do that for the meta description as well. Even the canonical tag, let's see what else we have. The heading 1 tag and the heading 2 tag can all be imported from web pages using these formulas. The only downside is that it gets a bit slow if you get up to, let's say, 300-400 URLs. It might time out, but I also have a workaround for that for you. So let's say we drag this down, 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 down. Okay, interesting, because we had those URLs already. It doesn't actually get slower, but the workaround is, if you notice that it's slowing down, you would copy the text that you already have and you use Control-Shift-V to remove the formulas, so that that lookup won't happen again once you open the sheet. So what I mean is, let's say this data at the top here, let's say this has finished loading and we've got the complete data. You now highlight this and put this in your copy and paste ones with Control-C, and then you hit Control-Shift-V to get rid of the formula. So now if we click in here, there's no more formula there, so there won't be a lookup that's going to run, again, because we have no more formula. Whereas down here, this would still run a lookup, most likely once you reload the sheet, because it's a formula. And by getting rid of the formulas, you now essentially have less lookups in total. Let's say you manage to look up 100 URLs and another 100 are not finished. You can now, this way, reduce the amount of lookups to only those unfinished ones. So that's a really helpful tip. Whenever you have any formulas here, you can highlight the whole data, go Control-C, Control-Shift-V, and now the formula here is gone and it's just fixed text. It's a good way to basically save whenever you know you don't need formulas anymore. Alright, this video already went longer than expected, so let's wrap it up with these 3 more advanced formulas. One is to extract the root domains, this is a Google app script. So what you do is you copy all of this, you come into extensions and app script. Let's hit add new script. Oops, did that work? Okay, where it says function, we just copy all of that. Then we hit save and run. It's okay if you see an error there. Sometimes it's just because there's no data yet in the range that the function is supposed to run in. But what this is supposed to do is to give you a domain name, which could be a subdomain or it could be a kind of folder structure. Let me show you, and then extract the root. So let's say here we have test.com/testing.html. Then here we put in our formula, make sure we reference the correct cell, 24. Now the formula is loading and we're outputting test.com. So let me zoom in here. Let's double check that this also works with subdomains. So this is my HTTPS. All right, let's not do HTTPS. Let's do subdomain.test.com. Drag this over here. And we now also have been able to extract that. The other scripts that I will give you is for a word counter. So you can count in a specific cell how many words there are. And then for an HTTP status code checker, that is if you wanted to know what status code the URL has, for example, our test.com domain. Let's see, I'm not sure if we need HTTPS for that one. So now we got the status code working. The only problem was that the URL itself, test.com, was not loading. But here we can see we have a 200 status code, which means that a URL is working fine. Let's change this to a page that does not exist. This probably does not exist. And now we get a 404 error code here in Google Sheets, and we know immediately that this one does not exist. So I would recommend working with this sheet that I'm giving you here in the way that you mark this as a bookmark, and whenever you need a formula, you just type in this bookmark, you come to this, and then you're able to quickly copy all of that and have a good resource library for yourself of formulas that you use often, which is still a bit quicker than using ChatGPT every time you need to solve a problem. Great, I hope this was helpful, and I hope to welcome you to my newsletter by subscribing below. If you could comment Google Sheets formulas if you made it this far, and Google Sheets for SEO, that would be amazing and much appreciated. Thank you, I'll see you in the next video.